What if Austria keeps Slovenia? Austria was prepared to give up its own independence to help Slovenia break away from the collapsing Yugoslavia. This was an incredibly generous offer, but it was still rejected by the Slovenians. So in this alternate timeline, what if Austria had simply said no? In our timeline, after Slovenia declared its independence from Yugoslavia in June of 1991, the Austrian government under Chancellor Franz Vranitzky was prepared to accept Slovenia into Austria proper. This would have meant that Austria would lose its independence, as the European Community, the precursor to the EU, would not allow a nation to join that was itself a disputed territory. And so Austria would have to first solve the issue of their border dispute with Slovenia before they could join. But Chancellor Vranitzky was more than happy to do this, as he had long advocated for a closer union between Austria and Slovenia. As Slovenia's foreign minister later said, the European Community would likely have vetoed Slovenia's membership over the border dispute, and Austria would then have been forced to choose between leaving the EC or keeping Slovenia as an autonomous province within its borders. In the short term, Austria would probably opt to leave the EC, which would have huge ramifications for its economy. However, in the long run, as the Cold War would eventually end and the threat of Soviet Russia would disappear, Austria would likely be allowed back into what would by then be called the European Union. As for Slovenia, it would have been a very different country. It would have been much wealthier, as it would have benefited from being part of the EU and the Eurozone. But on the other hand, it would have lost its independence and become a province of Austria. Much like the Austrian province of Carinthia, Slovenia would have been ruled directly from Vienna and would have had little autonomy. The people of Slovenia would likely have resented this and would have fought for more rights and autonomy, something that the Austrians would have been unwilling to give. Over time, this resentment would likely grow until eventually the Slovenians would begin to agitate for full independence once again. This time, however, they would have very little support from the international community and would have likely been crushed by the Austrian military. Any future bid for independence after that would likely be crushed with even more force. So in the end, both Austria and Slovenia would have been worse off had Austria simply decided to keep Slovenia. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel for more content.